Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we have some pretty big news going on over here when it comes to PlayStation, where PlayStation right now is getting called out. There is a huge public outcry going against PlayStation for utilizing AI in its games and procedurally generating out basically facial animations, audio, voice logs, and all of that in a really big proper press demo that came out a few days ago. Now, the idea behind it was probably meant to drive a lot of hype, saying we can probably make games faster and better, and utilizing just you don't have to be in these random big huge stadium rooms. They have these like random wires attached to your body to go and track facial features and all of this. And I think PlayStation probably would have assumed that people would have been happy with the news or have, well, maybe enjoyed to go and share it. But one thing that they did not know is, well, the lady who's actually like based on Aloy herself from the Horizon franchise, Ashley Birch, is, well, not informed, was not consenting to it, and right now there's a massive call on PlayStation. So I'm gonna go talk about that throughout this video. So make sure you guys are subscribed if you guys enjoy the started. Check out our second YouTube account that's been starting to get active over here for shorts and general videos, reaction stuff that's linked down below, and of course the Twitters and Twitches. We'll be doing some drinking maybe up on Twitch later on tonight, so be on the lookout for that, and give me your thoughts and comments on everything down below. So the big kind of news on this one is a few days ago, The Verge came out with this article saying Sony is experimenting with AI-powered PlayStation characters, saying the Sony's advanced technology group has created an AI-powered version of Aloy from basically the PlayStation Horizon games. I'm sure you guys have seen them. They're probably some of the best-selling PlayStation games if you haven't. Okay, so anyway, Sony is working on a prototype AI-powered version for at least one of its PlayStation game characters. Now, I'm usually kind of anti-AI. I just think it's like usually what we have right now is kind of a bunch of slop. Human touch just adds a lot more, especially in the creative end. And obviously there's a lot of people out there who do like voice acting work that would be completely screwed over if this is what's kind of pushed for big companies like Sony. Now, I do understand there's a big scope increase too when it comes to making certain games, and they cost hundreds of millions of dollars, and it is probably a little bit of a bubble we have to address at some point. But I don't think really AI, at least in terms of character and creative side, is usually the way to go. I do sometimes think maybe using things like for engine optimization or things like PSSR to kind of fill in the blanks, maybe even on some animation side. Boy, maybe, I don't know, like copy pasting a bunch of trees and grass to kind of make the game itself both loading better, optimized better, and made better. Sure, I'm probably okay with that, but I do kind of feel like certain things like creative work and artistry is kind of something we want to keep on paying people to work into and be on top of. At least that's my opinion on it. Now, I do think there is potential for some good uses of AI, although I am always a little bit smidgen terrified of having another iRobot situation coming out. So just for the general blanket terms, any robots out there, I love you. I welcome Megatron as our glorious leader, and robots always deserve love, and I would power on my Roomba all night just to make sure it's safe. Now that that's all taken out of the way, basically the idea on this is that they're utilizing all this AI technology, which they technically own. They are the business. But it gets really weird when it's like a character's voice. Like, imagine I go do voice acting for one game. They pay me, let's say, $5,000, proper job, whatever. They like my voice, they like my content. And then they make a second game. But the second game is still utilizing my own voice, but they just plug it into an AI creator. And then, well, I was on this game, maybe saying weird stuff that maybe I wouldn't even agree with, at the end of the day. Or maybe it doesn't even sound like me, or maybe I feel like I'm a used piece of object. This actually has happened already before, and we've seen deep fakes and everything else too out there. So the big deal on this one is that, well, people are not cool with this. Like, people are very upset, I think rightfully so. So basically, Sharman Rajpobodar, the director of the software engineering at Sony Interactive Entertainment, who works for the video game industry, basically came out over here and tried to showcase up this cool AI-powered ally thing, and they wanted to have this all the conversation with the player, and they had voice prompts, and kind of the idea of what I think might be cool. I always say you have like a Skyrim type game, and you have these procedurally generated like chat GPT type responses, and the game can kind of go on forever. I see merit on that. I see potential on that, but I don't want to see it done like haphazardly and very sloppily, and at the cost of other people that are actually working the gaming sphere. The gaming sphere is very hard to break into, and also we've seen a lot of layoffs everywhere. I want to make sure these creatives are actually doing well, so we don't have to have AI for every single game in the future. That's always my big worry for this. So basically, they have this big demo over here for the Horizon Forbidden West, and they have this right here on the screen, which is basically saying this is a prototype. They're trying to be chill, just demonstrating the technology for Sony. But once again, the woman that is actually like based on this and using the voice of itself, like the actual voice itself, she hated this. I'm going to show the video for her in a second. But so they're using OpenAI's Whisper for text-to-speech and basically using GPT-4 and Llama 3 for conversations and decision-making. And then it has its own internal emotion voice synthesis service that uses speech for generation. And according to Raghu Bajal, the audio-to-face animation is powered by Sony's own Mockingbird technology. Basically just utilizing all the technology. I think the technology is cool. The implementation, not so much. So the demo is seen running on PC. They've also experimented with this on the PS5 consoles, which we might want to touch on a separate video. That is cool technology, but Sony first demonstrated this internally a year ago and is now being showcased up everywhere else. And they're saying this is just a glimpse of what is possible through all the tech demo too as well. And they've had other companies like NVIDIA and other AI machine learning companies utilizing these like AI powered NPCs in games where you can freely like speak freely to these video game characters. I think it's cool. Like I think the idea behind this is cool. But once again, if you're working with these people and utilizing their voices, it does get a little sketchy on like laws and legal rights and character stuff. It's basically an AI verse, not AI too as well. Xbox and other various companies are utilizing this too, but as I mentioned, there's been a lot of fear for game developers on how they could basically just getting rid of this big creative process for video games with these mass layoffs everywhere. So with all this, now you guys know the context of it. Basically, it's like an AI verse using the creative freedoms over here for the world. I want to go and show you guys the actual actor herself and what she thinks. I'm curious this may sway your opinion or maybe even strengthen it at the end of the day. I have to just also realize, stupidly, I didn't have any audio. I'm so happy I noticed that, so I wasn't sitting here for 5 seconds awkwardly, and I would have to redo the video, and I probably would have sat here said.
Hi. I
Hello.
wanted to talk about AI Aloy. I saw the tech demo earlier this week. Gorilla reached out to me to let me know that the demo didn't reflect anything that was actively in development. They didn't use any of my performance for the demo, so none of my facial or voice data. And Gorilla owns Aloy as a character. So all that said, I feel worried. And not worried about Gorilla specifically or Horizon or my performance or my career specifically. Even, I feel worried about this art form, game performance as an art form. We are currently on strike. SAG-AFTRA is on strike against video games because of AI.
So let me fill in like a few blanks. Number one, I love her first initial thought, which was like, hey, I don't own Aloy. They could always get a different voice actor. I'm happy I had a chance to work with them. Like, I respect that. Good start. But I do also want to touch on this too as well, where there are people that are saying like for writers guilds and people that are doing voice acting work to actually have proper like raises and paid a fair wage, and they're not utilizing AI and like not having these horrible blanket contracts. Because what happens if you sign off on an AI deal for now and then 50 years down the road, they're still using your voice because you had a beautiful voice. Think like the Halo Man or something like that. Or these other famous voice actors, anime, or like just cartoons, whatever it might be. And well, then you're still in here. Or like, what if you pass away and then your family doesn't want you to keep on using this character, but for some odd reason, big bad Sony, not saying that they're bad, but just for the sake of the metaphor, they're still using your like passed away beloved's voice lines forever. And now sometimes it's a homage, but sometimes you're like, hey, I don't like this game, or hey, this has been 8 years. I cry every single time I hear a grandpa pop. I hear his voice in this game for a video game trailer. Like you could see how there's morality lines in between us. And this is a very interesting conversation at the end of the day.
Because this technology exists, because we know that game companies want to use it, we're asking for protections. So currently what we're fighting for is that you have to get our consent before you make an AI version of us in any form. You have to compensate us fairly, and you have to tell us how you're using this AI double.
So all those I agree with. Get paid fairly, like get licensing rights, have it eventually like leave at some point. I mean, companies do that with cars and music. Give it like 2-5 years. Delete it from the data pool. And as well, let people know. Because what if they're making a game and they're like, oh, this is a cool space game. And then it turns into something completely different. And like it's like nothing that you'd ever expect. That could be a potential problem. These are fine in my mind. If I want to throw in my 2 cents, I think these are fine rules to have.
And I feel worried not because the technology exists, not even because game companies want to use it, because of course they do. They always want to use technological advancements. I just imagine a video like this coming out that does have someone's performance attached to it, that does have someone's voice or face or movement, and the possibility that if we lose this fight, that person would have no recourse. They wouldn't have any protections, any way to fight back. And that possibility, it makes me so sad. It hurts my heart. It scares me. I love this industry and this art form so much. And I want there to be a new generation of actors. I want there to be so many more incredible game performances. I want to be able to continue to do this job. And if we don't win, then that future is really compromised. And I'm genuinely not trying to put any game company specifically on blast, certainly not Guerrilla, because again, I don't think the technology isn't the problem. Game companies wanting to use the technology isn't the problem. The problem is that we are currently on strike, and the bargaining group will not agree to give us common sense protections.
So kind of what they're saying too, like I'm just gonna my 2 cents again, is that like, hey, like the technology is gonna be there. AI is gonna get better and more crazy over time, but we have to make sure we have the preventative measures to make sure it's not gonna turn into something crazy. And like I was trying to use examples of maybe like a passed away loved one and they're using their likeness 20 years down the road. At a certain point, the family might be like, hey, can we please let this chill? Or at the same time, what if you maybe did a job for one PlayStation game and you signed away your contract rights and then you're in 15 different other games and you're not even getting compensated for it? Like you're basically signing away your likeness over here, your voice or facial animations or your thoughts or creatives, and it can become a problem if there's not like anything safeguarded in. And it's kind of like a big discussion point where like, where does AI need to end and like where do we have to have regulations on it? And this is kind of a evolving industry that is, well, going to be probably part of our lives no matter what, but we need to go and figure out how and why and, well, the best recourse for doing it, especially for creatives out there. And I think that's what she's mainly trying to say. She would trust PlayStation, but at the same time, it's horribly timed. And I think she's trying to be proper and cordial about it. But this is a like, hey, here's this cool technology where we don't need voice actors. As voice actors are fighting for like equal rights and equal pay. It's a big deal, I'd say.
So, yeah, I mean, I support the strike. I've always supported the strike. I believe fighting is what we have to do to protect the future and the longevity of this career that we all love so much. And luckily, there are union contracts that currently exist that give all the protections that we are asking for that any game company can sign right now. There's the interim, the tiered, and low budget agreement contracts available right now for any game company to sign. So that's it. I love games. I love game performers. I love game performances so much. And I believe that we deserve to be protected. So I'm going to keep fighting. And if you're in the games community, I hope you do too.
And I think she kind of worded that pretty good. She just wants to make sure everyone's getting equal rights, equal pay, and just making sure that they're not going to be doing something crazy and schemy with it. And I think that's where PlayStation kind of missed the mark. The timing of it, the creation of it, and I'm okay with AI as long as it's actually done well in the future. So we just always have to have that little bit of a community pushback to make sure that these game companies are always doing it right. So I want to hear your thoughts and comments on everything down below. Make sure you guys are subscribed, and I appreciate y'all so much for watching. Use all the social links down below, and you guys are all dope.